Actually reminds me, a couple of weeks back, I interviewed someone on the podcast who was instrumental in REITs back when the REITs really took hold in the early 90s. And he was explaining to me that it used to be that the REITs were, there were REITs out there that were just a hodgepodge of different assets. We'd have hotels and theme parks and apartments. And as opposed to what today, where it's really, really specifics. Today you'll have Prologis, which are just warehousing, and you'll have multifamily and you'll have office space. But when I first started, you had these REITs that would really invest in everything. And he was telling me the story that when it came to earnings calls, and they would have these big conference calls with investors, we'd have a guy from one of the analyst firms saying, "Okay, let me speak to your multifamily guy." And they would ask Fred, let's say his name was Fred, a bunch of questions. Okay, that's great. Now let me pivot to hotels. Let me ask about hotels. And who's your hotel guy? Yeah, it's me. It's also Fred. And they would have Fred get up there, so to speak, and talk about shopping centers and then multifamily. And the analysts were queasy about this. They didn't like the fact that this one guy, this one company, or it could have been a big company, but that they just dabbled in everything. And after that, it really started segmenting to office and separate retail, government, leased properties, real specifics. You're definitely not wrong in staying in your lane, something you're comfortable with. Creative financing. You're dealing with 5 to 100 units. I like those types of properties. I own some larger ones, but I do own some properties in that box as well. What I like about those is that I feel you have less when it comes to buying the property. There's less institutional interest in it, so you'll have less fun. You'll have some big players totally not interested in buying it because it's just too small for their fund that they have, and you'll have a lot of mom and pop investors or smaller investors who are buying those types of properties. And again, mom and pop, I don't say that in a small negative way. You could be a mom and pop investor and have $150 million in assets under management. But those types of properties, since you're dealing with these types of investors and owners and sellers, there's more room for creativity, financing.